Welcome to the DARTS Allowable Revenue Identification Wizard video tutorial. This is Special Case Adjustments and Finishing Up, the fifth installment of the DARTS Allowable Revenue Identification Wizard tutorial video series, which covers special revenue and expense cases that may or may not be eligible for the inclusion in the WFRP Crop Insurance program. This video will also take you through a summary of our allowable revenue data and assure that you are eligible for the WFRP Crop Insurance program. We have come to the Special Case Process and Adjustment screen. Now, the WFRP program specifically defines that revenue and expenses from your Schedule F are allowable under the programs. Naturally, like most things, there are exceptions to these rules. Exceptions exist in which all or part of a normally excluded revenue or expense category should be included. Likewise, there are exceptions in which all or part of a normally included revenue or expense category should be excluded. This section covers these special cases and exemptions. Every special case adjustment describes and it gives examples of the exceptions. You can use this tool to make corresponding adjustments to your revenue and expenses. Remember that the F1 key takes you directly to the help page corresponding to each page. Read through each page and determine if your tax data needs to be adjusted for special cases in the WFRP program. If you have finished entering your adjustments or no adjustment is needed, simply click Next to proceed. After the special case adjustment screens, the wizard arrives at the Allowable Expenses worksheet. The Allowable Expenses worksheet lists categories from the Schedule F Part 2, which are typically excluded as allowable expenses for the WFRP program. However, in certain situations, all or part of these expenses in these categories should be included for WFRP coverage. The Allowable Expenses worksheet allows you to make these adjustments. This page gives you an accurate summary of the work you have completed so far, with each page representing 1 year of your tax data, as denoted at the page header. The Schedule F Part 2 line items appear on the far left, followed by their respective amounts for your operation in Column 1. Columns 2 through 5 show a summary of these adjustments you have made in the wizard up to this point, with a running total in Column 8. You can see a detailed breakdown of the post-production expenses and special case adjustments by clicking on any of the underlined numbers. Any adjustments that have not been made up to this point should be made now in the Additional Adjustments column. Please note that an adjustment to increase an expense should be entered as positive, while adjustments to decrease an expense should be entered as negative. Likewise, the Allowable Revenue worksheet serves the same purpose but for revenue categories that are typically excluded but should be included. The layout of this page is identical to the Expenses worksheet. However, the line items now refer to Parts 1 and 3 of the Schedule F. Again, enter positive numbers to increase your allowable revenue, and enter negative numbers for decreases in your allowable revenue. Progress through each of the subsequent pages and enter any additional revenue adjustments not covered by the wizard to this point. During the past 5 consecutive years, did you sell any breeding or dairy livestock that were held for sale? If so, select Yes and click Next. Using your Form 4797 for each applicable year, fill out the worksheet. In our example, starting in 2010, our producer had $2,300 in sales of breeding and dairy livestock reported on the Form 4797. Should you need any additional information within this page, or like a detailed example, hit the F1 key. In the following text field, you may write a memo describing any changes to the farm or ranch operation for the current insurance year that may impact the expected revenue. For example, our producer lost 15 walnut trees to a freeze last year, so he should type, I lost 15 walnut trees last year due to a freeze. Any changes should be stated that are not wholly expressed in the Schedule Fs. These changes will be included in the report of changes at the bottom of your whole farm history report. Click Next, and now you'll have a report for your preliminary allowable revenue. You'll see your preliminary whole farm history report, which shows a breakdown of allowable revenue and expenses for each year as well as your whole farm historic average year. The whole farm historic average is calculated from your expected allowable revenue. The Farm Operation Report is also on this screen. It shows your total expected revenue and the total value broken down by commodity. You will notice quite a few empty fields on this form. This information is to be filled out at a later date with your approved insurance provider. At this point in DARTS, you will have the opportunity to fill out your producer information, which includes your full name, your address, telephone number, and tax ID, such as your Social Security number or employer identification code. You will also enter your person type you use to file on your federal income taxes. You may enter this on either form because the information will automatically apply to the other, like so. Don't worry about the agency information, as this will be filled out by your insurance agent. Now let's click Next and move forward through the wizard. Now you are at the WFRP Eligibility Questionnaire. Compared to the preliminary questionnaire at the start of the program, this one is more condensed and it uses your inputs from the previous steps in the wizard to determine your answers and subsequently your eligibility. Be sure to verify your eligibility with your insurance agent or approved insurance provider. On the beginning inventory screen, you are given an opportunity to report the unsold non-livestock commodities as well as nursery commodities you had at the beginning of the tax year. Click Add to create a line for each commodity and complete the corresponding fields of data to represent your inventory. Use your mouse to select yes or no depending on whether or not that line item is a nursery item. You will notice that there is also a section on this screen to enter ending inventory for each commodity. Information will only be entered in this section at the end of the insurance year. You will be able to report the unsold livestock that you had at the beginning of the tax year in the next screen, the Beginning Market Animal Inventory Worksheet. On this Beginning Market Animal Inventory Worksheet, you are able to input any livestock inventory that you may have for the start of the tax year. Similar to the previous inventory worksheet, press Add for each line item you may need and fill out the corresponding fields to satisfy your data. If you need more information, you may press the F1 key or click on the Explain This links. Clicking Next, we are taken to the Accounts Receivable and Accounts Payable page. Again, by pressing the Add button, you can enter any commodities that you have either sold but have not yet been paid for, or commodities that you as a producer have not paid for. Be sure to use your mouse to select either receivable or payable for each commodity before clicking Next to move through DARTS. After you have finished your accounts receivable and payable report, press Next to arrive at the final screen in the DARTS Allowable Revenue Identification Wizard. Clicking on the printer icon will allow you to print a physical copy of your work. You are brought to a screen where you can choose the various items that you would like to print. I'm going to print a copy of the Farm Operation Report and the Inventory Report. Now would also be a good time to press the Save button in the lower left-hand corner of the wizard to save all of your work. This concludes the fifth and final installment of the DARTS Allowable Revenue Identification Wizard tutorial video series. All videos may be accessed on the DARTS website at www.agrilogicconsulting.com/darts or on YouTube.